Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. It's election season, and we're interviewing all the candidates for the local offices. Today, we're at Wicomico County Council, District 2, with our good friend Talana Watson. Welcome, Talana.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
being
for
here.
the invite.
Thank you. So you're running for District 2 for County Council.
Yes, running for District 2.
Why do you want this job?
Why do I want this job? That's a good question, but after long consideration and recognizing that I had a responsibility as a citizen to do what I could to make it a better place for us in Wicomico, I just wanted to be a part of a solution and not sit back and talk about the issues and problems.
District 2 is a big district. It's the
Yes,
whole
it is.
west side of the county. Goes all the way down to Bivalve and Nanticoke and all the way up to Sharptown, the west side of Salisbury. What are some of the problems of this district that are unique?
Well, one of the main problems that we've been having is the issue of the broadband. And I noticed from talking to some people too, like in the Hebron area, the problem of the cell phone, the dropping of cell phone calls in certain areas. And I know it to be true because I've been traveling around and I can go in certain areas and I can have,
Right.
I can be on the cell phone with someone and then it's gone dead. So I think about that as being a real issue, especially coming out of COVID and knowing our children were in school virtually.
Right.
So that's a real concern because we know that with the virtual learning, it created issues for all students. So if you had sporadic virtual learning, I can only imagine how it affected those students.
When you're out and about, what are people telling you?
When I'm out and about, I see good people that care about their community, that have created a sense of family. I see the fire departments really engaged in their community, making a difference. I see them having concerns about, water, sewer, the broadband. I see them being concerned about their community and the safety. Education is a big issue, and it should be for all of us in Wicomico, because when you have a good educational system, you know that your economy is going to run with stability,
Right.
and be more efficient. So it's a win-win for us to make sure that there's a good system.
Yeah, Mardella High School, middle and high school, finally getting a new facility, which has
Yeah.
been long needed. The good schools out there. West Side's a great school, but it's a really remote area. And you're right. You to do the mobile learning, you need the Wi-Fi.
You need the Wi-Fi.
There's always concerns about how much the school board should get in terms for the county. The county makes a contribution to the school board every year. The state has a formula for that. Sometimes we exceed the formula. One year we had to go under the formula. But where are you on school funding? Do the schools get enough money from the county?
I believe that schools get good funding from the county. I'm more concerned with the application of the funding and knowing what the tangible results are as a result of the funding, to make sure that we've maximized that funding to the best and that we're seeing tangible results and making progress where we want to, so that it be measurable.
Are there any areas in the schools that need more funding, you think? Where they need to grow their,
Well,
their services?
I read about the blueprint for Maryland.
Right.
And I know the funding will be there in the next 10 to 12 years. The funding will be there. I think the main concern when you look at certain issues that the blueprint wants to address is to make sure those goals are achieved, such as diversity in education with educators and staffing. We have to make sure that those things are measured and that we see those increases, and that we see the graduation rate in Wicomico increase.
We're 15, 16 years into the county executive form of government. There's been some issues with that where council wants to be in charge, county executive wants to be in charge, and there's a little bit of infighting. Any viewpoints on that?
Well, I feel that the county executive and the county council really need to work well together. That the vision for the county, that they have to be have a frame of mind of collaboration to make it work for Wicomico County. The county executive, I know at our business, there's always one that seems to be that administrative that performs that administrative role to oversee everything, to make sure everything is going according to plan, that the goals are being met. So I think for the county executive, that person would make sure that the adequate staff is in place, that the procedures and policies are where they need to be to achieve what the county council is overseeing,
Right.
are working with. So they have to have a good relationship, good communication, want to work with one another, irregardless of party affiliations, because it is about Wicomico County.
You have a business in the community, a prominent business. How's the economy and economic development? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I know with our business, having a funeral home and a cemetery, we, of course, were challenged like a lot of businesses during COVID. So, we made it. And we started a business, so we're really proud of that. A lot of hard work and a lot of hard hours. But one thing in business is, in order to be economically, to grow, you always have to continually invest in the business. You always have to be in a state of wanting to learn new things, to know what's going on in your community, know what's going on in society, so you can meet the challenge, so you stay competitive with your competitors. So when I look at the county, I think of it in that light. I'm thinking, well, Wicomico County, we have so many great things to offer here. So, we should have a marketing strategy where we're actually selling our county. We're selling our county because we want to attract businesses here that have good paying jobs, because we want to promote that this is a place to raise a family.
It's funny, you and I grew up together in this county, and where do you see we've seen so many changes, in our lifetime.
Yes.
How do you see it evolving? How would you like to see Wicomico County, evolve and change, and what role do you want in that change?
I would like to see Wicomico County evolve to be a place for families, young adults, professionals, to be a place where there was progression, for us to be a place of vision, to look at ways that we're relevant to not just the next 10 or 20 years, but say 50, 100 years out, that we have laid a groundwork and a foundation to know that our county would be going in the direction that's necessary. To, in other words, do things in a smart way, to do things in a safe way, that were economically sound. But we can lay the groundwork for that if we collaborate.
Right.
With the government officials, with the business community, with those other professionals in the community, and that average person that lives in the community that probably has a perspective that the government official hasn't thought of, so we should collaborate with one another as a community.
I've always felt like District 1 and District 2, things tend to go, not wrong, but there tends to be proposals for things that are going to affect the people there, and people in those districts have to go to the council and yell about some things. And certainly like the landfill expansion has been one. There was the proposal to put a bunch of chicken houses out there on Northwest Road. Why is it that the county doesn't seem to recognize District 1 and 2's concerns the way they should, and how could you change that?
You can change that by being transparent. You can change that by staying in touch with the people, not just waiting until a few months before an election cycle, before everybody gets in touch with one another and kind of meets up and discusses. You have to constantly be engaged with those people in those districts, and they feel that they can approach you so that you can know what their concerns are. So it is really important to be transparent and to keep the dialogue open. So I would want to do that. I would want to still continually be out in my district talking to them. If they have some event, I would hope that they would issue an invitation for me to come, but just to be engaged, to know where they stand.
Right. Revenues is a big topic in the county all the time. Taxes, the revenue cap. Whether we should get rid of the revenue cap or change it because maybe it ties our hands. So it's a debate that comes up every election about the revenue cap. Right now, the county is sitting on a $50 million reserve. Any thoughts about revenue cap, taxes? Where are you headed in that in your head?
In my head, being a business person, I like to look at all the numbers. I like to consider what we need to do in the future, what the vision is for the future, and to look at where the revenue will come to do it, and consider the growth of the population. Consider just like a business, what I would anticipate doing, what I would need to do. And so then I'm going to have to look at to see that there is sufficient revenue to do it. So sometimes they're hard decisions to make, and I agree, I don't want my taxes to go up. When I consider, as a senior citizen, I don't want my taxes to go up when I consider all the tax obligations that I have. But sometimes we have to really look at it closely, and we have to be willing to sit down and say, this is what we need to do. Because if we look at it, we may see there is a smarter way to do it, and it not even be about raising taxes, but there may be some other way to do it.
One of the issues that happened in District 2 recently was the big discussion about the slurry tank, the waste tank out in Hebron, Mardella. And more than the issue, the way I watched it was how the county council conducted itself, how they resolved the problem. And they took about 3 years to work on it, to listen to the citizens' concerns. They tried to dodge the issue at first, then they engaged it. Any thoughts about how that happened and how you will conduct yourself in the council if a similar issue comes up?
Well, when I think about the issue of the DAF tanks, I would have hoped, just like the citizens in District 2, that it would have been resolved sooner, that it would not have taken 3 years. But I also look at the fact that the waste is coming from outside of the county. That's a real concern to me, that someone would be bringing waste from outside of the county into our county. So I am really concerned about that. I don't agree with that. Just like with the landfill, I think our waste in a landfill should be from residents in Wicomico County, in that these are our resources that we have to protect and safeguard for our use. So I do have a concern for that, and I would have hoped that we would have resolved it before 3 years.
All right, give me your 1-minute pitch. Why should the voters of District 2 elect Talana Watson as their council person?
They should elect Talana Watson because Talana Watson is a fresh voice with a different perspective as to how we're looking at things, and not hesitant in voicing what people in her district are saying to her, and seeing what kind of resolution we can obtain. So I've learned how to relate to people from different walks of life, being in business, being in ministry, and I'm not afraid to talk to anyone, even if they don't agree with me. I think even when we don't agree, we should be able to sit down and talk to one another, because there is always something that we can find that we have in common. And that's how we're going to solve problems and issues.
She's Talana Watson. She's running for County Council District 2 in Wicomico County. We're thrilled she had time to be with us here today. Talana, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm Greg Bazzer from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Be sure to watch all the candidate interviews on the PAC 14 YouTube page.